To one and all present on the Marketing Conclave 2021 on the topic Integrated Marketing from Traditional to Pandemic, Postmodern and New Normal. On behalf of Lloyd, I would like to welcome the Group Director, Dr. Vandana Sethi, the Director, Dr. Som, the panelists, the eminent panelists who are with us, the media, the delegates, the students and the faculty. Hoping all are in good health and coping up with the unrelentless health dynamics, this conclave is like a positivity and a ray of hope for thoughts, ideas and facts that we need to go on. The crisis can either make or break a business. Today, a global health crisis like the pandemic can either paralyze organizations or give it a propellant thrust. Organizations are now making this tough decision just to keep momentum in spite of variant environmental changes, which are opportunities for some, threat for some, and growth propellants for some. Businesses have resumed to a new and a more agile operation, ensuring that the organization is prepared to adapt to the period with a robust marketing approach that will play out strategically in the post-COVID-19 world. This conclave intends to unleash all. Now, I would like to invite the Group Director, Lloyd Group of Institutions, Dr. Vandana Arora Sethi, a dynamic and an energetic leader at Lloyd, to address the theme of the conclave, which is Re-Envisioning Marketing, Strategizing the Touchpoints and Insight into the New Normal in Marketing Post-Pandemic. Dr. Sethi is a gold medalist from Delhi University with work experience of more than 16 years, including industrial experience at Ranbaxy Research Laboratories and at Smart Analyst Incorporation. She is an enigmatic and a charismatic leadership and a visionary at Lloyd. We welcome you, ma'am, and it's over to you.
Thank you very much to all the panelists for joining us on this weekend morning, which is otherwise very gloomy and a little bit depressing because of so much happening around us. But these are the instances, you know, when we meet our people, even if online, it brings some hope, probably even some distraction from what all is already happening in the world around us. So I hope it's a good morning for you. I hope there have not been any bad news since morning. So a very warm good morning to all the panelists, warm good morning to my faculty colleagues, our director, to all the participants from various colleges who are with us today, and my dear most students. We are here today to listen to a panel of very eminent people who are going to be talking on the marketing, re-envisioning marketing, which we are going to be talking on integrated marketing, how it used to be in the traditional times to what we are today in the pandemic and to the post-pandemic strategizing as well. So today we have with us, though we shall be giving a detailed description of all the panelists, today we have with us, and I wish to thank that you joined us, Ms. Saloni Kaul, who is the founder of its principal and quotient and a business consultant and coach. And she's been doing a wonderful job of transforming organization through its people. And we have with us Mr. Prashant Kapur, who is the founder of Think Story and also ex-VP marketing of Vodafone. Thanks, sir, for joining us. We have with us Mr. Balaji S, who's the Zonal Head General Manager, North Zone of Tally Solutions Private Limited. And we have Mr. G. Ravindran Reddy, who is the Head of Marketing at Hindware Appliances. Thanks for joining us, sir. We have Mr. Jones Joseph, Consultant Ex-Kantar. Thank you, sir, for joining. And we have Mr. Naveen Luthra, who's the Director, Business Growth and Global Strategy at RaptorSuppliers.com. We had a good privilege of meeting just a couple of days back before social distancing came so much, prevalent, and we were not allowed to meet people. Mr. Naveen Luthra has also joined us on our academic advisory board of our upcoming engineering college. Thanks for joining us today on this Saturday morning. And also I take this privilege to welcome our moderator and our faculty, a corporate leader, a motivational speaker, and a business coach who's an academician, Mr. Vivek Nanda. It's always a pleasure to interact with you, sir, and to listen to the way you moderate the sessions. I'm looking forward to what we do today.
Thank you.
Also, we have a lot of colleges who are participating with us. We've got participation from a profound 112 colleges across nation. That doesn't put a lot of pressure on the panelists though, but we are glad that so many people are here to listen to us today. And we've got participation from IIT Delhi, from various IIMs, including IIM Rohtak, from Delhi University, from Lady Shriram College. In fact, international participation also from University of Waterloo. We have people from NIT Kurukshetra University, ABS Engineering College, Aligarh Muslim University, and there are a lot of them. So warm welcome to all the participants, faculty and students who registered with us. The numbers were more than 600. And we hope that all of them get an advantage of what we are going to be talking today. And it adds on to their already existing value. Couple of things that, as a non-management person, who has been studying about marketing strategies, we shall be listening to the panel, but certain cases that always intrigued me and which also intrigue a lot of, other people about the organizations which made it really big by strategizing and by re-strategizing, their marketing work. And a couple of them like Microsoft, an example of Amazon, how they, are always at the top. I mean, we have yet to learn a lot of lessons from case studies of Amazon's and Microsoft, especially with Microsoft. What we realized that print and media was always a very pivotal part of Microsoft's marketing strategy. And we know that amount of billions of dollars that they spent for print and media alone. And now, obviously, they're getting into the digital marketing and the AI. And but one of the very ingenious print advertising campaigns for Microsoft Office 365 software that we saw, and it has been there in the Forbes magazine and everywhere. So how they slowly shifted from the traditional media to the social media and to the online platforms has set example for all the other organizations in the world. And it has continuously taken up several artificial intelligence projects. Obviously, it has placed AI high up in its product portfolio. And in fact, that's the reason why we have also tied up with Microsoft now for our engineering school, which is to be launched this year in 2021. And not only these skills, but yeah, Microsoft with the upcoming quick decisions that they make and the kind of strategizing that they do and the re-strategizing is worth, an example. Also certain things, something that always is very popular with youngsters and when we go to the food court, something that never existed earlier and became very popular in India is Taco Bells. It is one of the largest restaurant chains under the Yum Brands portfolio. But how it, quickly took over the entire world. What we saw and what we read is that Taco Bells, it is the, it operates over, more than 6,000 restaurants in the world, and there are 46 million customers a week. Probably, before the pandemic, the figures that they spoke about, but the kind of advertising campaigns they had, the kind of products they came up with when they came up with Doritos, Locos Tacos, which they called as the DLT campaign. And then the company rolled out new products and there was an upscale menu. And they also penetrated, the market of health conscious customers. So, they could actually find an increase in the sales after re-strategizing their advertising campaigns and by finding out new marketing strategies. And the same thing we had heard about PepsiCo as well. You know, when Indra Nooyi took it up as a CEO, and when they moved from a lot of sugar-rated drinks to some healthy options, you know, but when I heard her speak, she said that you don't have to actually get into some marketing surveys to find out what the people are looking for. She said whatever board meetings they used to have earlier, there used to be Pepsis which were placed on the side tables for people to drink, and slowly it was replaced with water because people became so health conscious. So they knew they had to move from sugar-rated drinks to more water or probably sugar-free drinks, and that's why you know, the zero-calorie drinks which came later. And obviously with Amazon, which has always intrigued me, you know, the kind of customer obsession that Amazon has, you know, from startups. I mean, the kind of startup that we are doing at Lloyd as well. And we always talk to our team about the kind of work that Amazon has done. So from startups and small businesses to even large international businesses, we all can learn a lot from their focus on customers. You know, the kind of approach that they have, which they call the RACE framework, which is reach, act, convert, and engage. And Amazon always believes in, you know, getting the customers back. So, and we are all customers, so we know how Amazon pulls us back to the same products again and again, to the relatable products again and again, just because of their customer obsession. So I think those are some you know, cases, and maybe many others who have re-strategized again and again. And this pandemic obviously you know, has brought so many people to re-strategize, starting from our sabzi walas to the local kirane walas to the grocery marts. You know, how one marketing strategy did not work and they got onto another. So the pandemic has brought a lot of changes. And I'm sure we've got so many literate people with us who are going to be, you know, throwing more light upon how, you know, we can survive the pandemic and still come out with flourishing businesses so that the businesses don't face a downfall. So I'm really looking forward to listen to the panel today. Also, I take this opportunity to announce to the participants and to the panelists as well that this year we're going to be launching our engineering school as Lloyd Institute of Engineering and Technology. And a lot of work has happened already. In fact, yesterday I had a conversation with the ICT chairman, Professor Sehasrabudhe, and he was really happy and intrigued by the kind of work that we are proposing in the engineering school. So this is called a collaborative program. Each student here gets to collaborate with an industry partner and gets to earn during the BTech program, which is very rare in UG programs, especially in India. And we have already tied up with 16 companies who, even before our BTech has started, who are ready to engage our students from year 1 till their year 4, and probably culminating in placements if the students are worthy during these 4 years. So we shall keep you all updated about all the work we are doing. For now, we shall take up the panel, and thanks to the organizing team who has put up such a wonderful panel for us and brought all the participants together. Dr. Kriti Gulati, who is the owner of the show, along with Ms. Neha Issar, and also all the other faculty coordinates, Neetu and the IT team, and our director, Dr. Som, and everybody else, especially our students. So we've got a wonderful marketing club, which is called the Top Liners, and Rajat Maske and Ini Chauhan, who take care of the club along with 25 other people. I'm sure you have a lot to learn from the panel that we have today. And maybe just take their email IDs, take their Twitter handles and their LinkedIn profiles and get after their life. You know, that's what I keep preaching to my students. Don't be shy, don't be hesitant. And I'm sure industry is really looking forward to help the academia as much as the academia is looking forward to learn from the industry. So over to you, and thanks very much for joining in.
It was like setting the football ground for the match to kickstart, and with such diversity in thought perspective, what's just required to begin the day to day. And the beauty is that we are hitting the 250 mark and we are just starting the program. So it's even more, the most strategic point to start. So it's a huge number, 250, to be gathered in a day like this with so many challenges. So lovely to see the audience and attendees so very energetic and forceful to start the discussion. So I'm very happy and honored to be able to host a very a plethora or a dynamism, or I would say a rainbow of business domains and expertise and the management gurus who are present in the panelists today. So if I may be given the liberty, I would like to take some time to introduce each of these panelists for the attendees to know what they are, how they are, and the journey that they have traversed, so that you would be able to relate to what they discussed today. So I would begin with Mr. Balaji. He's currently the Zonal Head General Manager, North Zone, Tally Solutions Private Limited. Mr. Balaji has an experience of more than 19 years in the field of marketing and sales. He is an expert in channel management, business development, sales distribution, and channel strategy. An alumnus of Ford School of Management, is working with Tally Solutions Private Limited since 2017. He has worked with many organizations of repute like Reliance Group, Nolarity Communications, and Tata Group, to name a few. We welcome you, sir. Moving on, we move on to Mr. G. Ravindran Reddy. We welcome you, sir. Mr. Reddy is currently working as head marketing Hindware Appliances. He has an integrated marketing professional. He's an integrated marketing professional with an experience of more than 19 years. The alumnus of IIM Calcutta, he possesses a wide and diversified history of working with FMCG, consumer durables, healthcare, etc. He has shared his marketing expertise with various brands like Asian Paints, Philips Electronics, JVC, Videocon Industries, LG Electronics, SRL Diagnostics, Usha International, and I'm sure the number is goes on. Thanks, sir. It's such a rich knowledge base that we have already with two panelists online already. So moving on next, I would like to introduce Mr. Jones Joseph, a consultant and an ex-Kantar associate. He was part of the team that spearheads the knowledge management initiative at Kantar in South Asia region. He has exposure to marketing, sales, and distribution of about 2 years and over 20 years of market research experience in India, North Africa, and Middle East, with exposure to both quantitative and qualitative researches, also a part of the data analytics field. He has worked in diverse sectors like FMCG, durables, healthcare, luxury products, automotive, and allied categories, telecom, microfinance. He's a certified internal auditor for ISO business processes as well. We welcome you, sir, on board. Now, I would take the pleasure to introduce to you Mr. Naveen Luthra. He's the Director, Business Growth and Global Strategy, Raptor Supplies.com. Mr. Naveen Luthra is the Director, Business Growth and Global Strategy at Raptor Supplies Limited, a professional with over 2 decades of multi-geography experience as business head, P&L head, alliances, and partnership leads. Mr. Luthra has been involved in business development, corporate sales, CXO level engagements across industries in India and Africa, forging strategic alliances and partnerships with telecoms, banks, digital organizations, and other major corporates across geographies. He strategizes the way forward by identifying growth opportunities with a focus.com or online or internet domain. He obtained a postgraduate degree in sales and marketing from IIM Ahmedabad. We welcome you, sir. Mr. Prashant Kapur, strategic thinker, e-commerce, digital payments, sales distribution and retail specialist. Mr. Prashant Kapur has 24 plus years of experience in managing business roles, organized retail, digital roles at the national level, and has worked with multinationals in consumer space like Bosch and Lomb India Limited, Shoppers Stop Limited, Hutch and Vodafone. He worked as National Sales Head VP Sales with Vodafone Corporate Office in Mumbai. Mr. Kapur has jointly ventured two consultancies, namely EduStory and ThinkStory. He has worked in 10 different states in multi-roles in the last 24 years of his career with different multinationals, largely in consumer space, sales and retail and digital space. We welcome you, sir, on board today.
Thank you.
Moving on, a special welcome to Ms. Saloni Kaul, business consultant and coach, the lady panelist in the session today. Ms. Saloni Kaul has held leadership responsibilities at the finest names in the industry, Dell, EMC, Tata Consultancy Services, Tata Infotech, etc., to name a few. She has worked with people from different cultures and countries across the globe, and most recently, Afghanistan. In 2012, she founded Its People, India Talent Services and Quotient One. She has authored her first two books. She has also launched the Breakthrough Purpose Program for those who are keen to define the purpose of their life. In a career spanning 3 decades and during the last decade specifically, she has contributed to business HR strategic directions, organizational development, talent management, learning and development initiatives for client organizations and professionals in India and overseas. We welcome you, ma'am. A special welcome to Vivek Nanda, sir, who's a part of Lloyd. He is a corporate leader, motivational speaker, a business coach, academician, visiting professor, ex-national sales head at Sharp's Business. Mr. Nanda is a professional with rich experience of over 30 years. His expertise in strategic planning and management, profit center operations, sales and marketing, business development, key account management, channel management, and team management. He has served his experience to various groups like Sharp Business System, a wholly owned subsidiary of Sharp Corporation of Japan, Rico India Limited, Bank of America, and Modi Group, among others. He is a corporate trainer and life skills specialist with zeal to train and enrich people with the words of wisdom. I'm sure that the plethora of domains, industries, knowledge, verticals that I just mentioned shows that it's like the entire marketing gamut on the screen today in the form of the panelists who are sitting here. I'm so honored to welcome you all, and I request Mr. Vivek Nanda to please take the session forward.
Good morning to all of you. Many thanks to Lloyd for organizing such a great session today. And a very warm welcome to all the panelists and also to dear students and faculties from across India. So I hope that this session is going to add value to each one of you. History is being rewritten these days. Earlier, when we used to study history in school, we used to refer to timelines as BC and AD. That's before Christ and Anno Domini. Things have changed now. Now it's called before COVID and after COVID, because that's how life has changed for all of us. So many changes in everyday life are taking place, from online classes to working from home, from digital payments to social media marketing. Life has changed, and so has marketing. Products, pricing, strategy, everything has changed during the pandemic. We have industry stalwarts today amongst us who have been leading these changes from the front. And faculties and students, one thing I just observed, that amongst us today, we have approximately 200 years of experience sitting in the panel today. So with 200 years of experience, I'm sure you're going to get lots and lots of knowledge and lots of experience sharing. To start with, I would like to request Naveen ji. Naveen ji.
Well, I think big is a very small word when you talk about the differences. There's a there's a sea change, the way organizations behave, customers behave. Okay, so going back to whatever we had been discussing over the last couple of days in the thought process, I feel that, there are three parts to the entire ecosystem, and then all these three parts have got impacted drastically. The first part in any business is the supply side. Supply side is somebody who is selling the products or somebody who is manufacturing the product. How that has got impacted. The second part is the demand side. Demand side is somebody who is consuming the product and buying the products or the services. And the third part is something which facilitates the meeting between demand and supply. It could be the distribution, it could be the promotions, or it could be payment mechanisms, warehousing, transportation, everything is the facilitator. So I think I'll just dwell upon all these three parts in very brief as to how the change has happened. Let's say the supply side. Now, we all know we have been talking online, but on the supply side, what has happened is that the product formats have undergone a change. The packaging have undergone a change. More and more suppliers, that means the sellers, are going online. Now, if somebody who is not going online is going to miss the bus, because the customer is not moving out. The customer is not physically going out and buying the product, or the touch and feel is missing today. So supply is going online. Then they have to diversify. They have to capture the new needs of the customers. So for example, just a few moments back, ma'am was talking about the small businesses like Kirana and all. Now, even a small business has to see that today, if they are supplying groceries or if they are supplying medicines, what else can they supply? Now, that's the change that is happening. The third most important part from the supply side that has been happening is that should I focus my energies on acquisition of new customers, or should I market my products and services to my existing customers? And I can here say, with our own experience at Raptor Supplies, now we have been having about 50,000 plus customers all across the globe. And what we decided about a year back when all this COVID started, see, we have got some physical feet on street, the people, those who are in the field and talking to the customers, meeting customers when everybody was not able to do that. So what we started was we increased our campaigns and the budgets and the communication to our existing set of customers. Now, that is something where we started churning that database. We started getting more and more inquiries from the existing customers because it was comparatively easier. There was already a trust which was built up. So if we had limited resources, limited time, and if you're already sitting on a customer base, I think one most important part is that you start focusing on your existing set of customers, then acquisition of new customers. Though acquisition of new customers is equally important. So that is something which is happening on the supply side. On the demand side, we have seen that a lot of new fields are emerging. So anything which is more online is something which people are preferring. Telemedicine, education, everything is moving online. And facilitator marketing. See, in marketing, there are two major things that I feel are happening. One, the communication part of it. Now, the communication has to be more empathetic. It has to talk more about the customers and less about me, less about the company. And the second part is the marketing has to have more content rather than just the messaging. So today, one of the casualty of the pandemic has been, unlike previously, that we always used to interact with the customers physically or with our ecosystem or the stakeholders physically, which is not happening today. So the trust has taken a casualty. It's a casualty because you're not seeing anybody face to face today. So the content of the marketing has to be very, very rich, which evokes trust. Then only you will be able to build a brand. Otherwise, just messaging may not do. It has to be something worthwhile, which the client may feel or the customers may feel, yes, this is adding value to me. So I feel that these are some of the things which have happened. There are many things to talk about, but I'm sure our other co-panelists will dwell upon many other aspects of the new age marketing now.
Thank you so much, Naveen ji, for giving those insights. Next, I would ask Saloni ji to tell us about the HR perspective of the new normal, because things are changing at a very, very dynamic pace. So Saloni ji being HR professional, I would like her to throw some light on this.
So we are sitting in 2021, and when this pandemic started in 2019, we really didn't know what we were up against. But after having spent the last 1.5 years dealing with this pandemic situation, I think one thing which is clear to everyone is that this situation has actually helped us accelerate. It has been one of the greatest workplace transformations of our lifetime. We were not ready for it, but we did not have any choice either. So, there are many things that we've seen go downhill. I would say one of the biggest disruptors, or rather accelerators, that we have seen at the workplace has all happened because of the COVID-19 situation. Look at the way we work today. Look at the way we exercise today, right? We can't go out. Look at the way we shop. Look at the way we are learning today. Look at the way we are communicating today. Look at the way we are actually working today. Everything has changed forever. And you rightly said AC and DC. So how things were, before COVID, and how things are and will be after COVID definitely are going to change. When I look at specifically, I look at HR, there are lots of challenges that HR business partners, for example, have had to face. But primarily, if I were to look at the role of HR in these times, it has actually helped the professionals to understand the kind of agility that they need to have, right? The kind of agility, organizational agility that they need to actually show to keep up with, the quick, unexpected changes in their workplace. Namely, this massive transition to remote work. I remember almost 10 years ago, we had a situation in one of the organizations I worked for where we had to create a work from home policy because there was a transition that people would be working from homes. And I can just recall the kind of challenges we were facing, that how will people work. And it was, mind you, an IT company, and it was a small setup, though a global company. It was a small setup. We had offices in India, we had offices in Netherlands, we had offices in many other places. So agility is really what matters, and I think HR professionals have really been tested on how quick they are able to not just take care of this transition and come out with the right remote work policies, but they have also actually understood the damaging effect on mental health. So cultivating the well-being of employees, the health and well-being of employees is so important, and it will continue to be an HR's priority. Today, you see so many sessions on mental awareness, mental health, HR trying to do so many things, from holding sessions and enabling employees to come up and avail of their assistance policies, assistance programs. If I look at the marketplace, many companies have come up and saying, we are offering these services. Why? Because you can see the shift, you can see the changes in the industry, you can see the kind of challenges that organizations are facing and will continue to face. So when you talk about facilitating effective remote work, know for sure that this is going to stay. And how does now HR actually not just look at enabling and engaging their employees through effective communication, acting on their commitments on diversity, on equity, on inclusion, cultivating and nurturing company culture, staying on top of the new legal statutory responsibilities. So many things that have now become the new normal for HR, and I think it's challenging, but it's doable. And as I would say, change is the constant. So whether it's an entrepreneur, whether it's a professional, whether it's a big organization, whether it's a small startup, every one of us has been impacted, and everyone has looked at ways of now doing things differently because the times are no longer the same as they were before.
So top corporates like Infosys, Google, Microsoft, Wipro, they've asked their employees, a majority of the employees, to work from home till 2021 end. This is the kind of scenario, which top corporates are changing and taking. So now I would like to ask Prashant ji, who's a veteran from the telecom field, to tell us about how telecom has evolved, and evolved during the pandemic, and what's the future of telecom now.
Thanks, Vivekji. It is pleasure joining this session. Good morning, all students and professors. Uh, Pandemic has been enabler and disenabler for few industries. Telecom has been enabling the industry during this pandemic. Okay, it is one of the industry which is moving strength to supremacy by putting up all the resources in terms of making sure that the current seminar which we're doing happens. Doctors are able to do their consultancies properly. School and college classes happen properly. Business meetings happen properly, and digital commerce, okay, through which we are getting our grocery delivery happen properly. In fact, telecom has been lifeline of business and economic activity during this pandemic, largely due to mobile and broadband penetration. But however, if you look at the telecom business per se, it has changed a lot. Okay, pre-pandemic, uh, close to five to six channels which were delivering huge business for the telecom industry, which was distribution, which was the biggest, close to 15 lakh shops nationally, Vodafone stores, Airtel stores, and mini stores, some close to 3,000 of them. Corporate business, which is B2B business, uh, digital and online business, which was small part, only 10 to 12% of the business, telecalling with fulfillment. All the channels except the digital channel have been brought to mere 10%. And what is happening is all business through digital. Okay, so it's very, very critical that one grow the digital business from here, so that whenever the future issues like this happen, we are able not only to sustain the business, but side by side, grow the business also. If you look at the currently pre-pandemic business was slightly push based, whereas now if you look, it is pull based. If you look at pre-pandemic, business was marketing was largely focusing around outdoor, on-ground activation, digital push, and a lot of action on the touch points, okay, which is like Airtel stores, Vodafone stores, or Geo stores. Whereas everything and everything has changed to digital push now. Earlier, a lot of infrastructure was being put up to support the expansion which was happening in the business. But now what is happening is infrastructure is there because a lot of curfews, a lot of lockdowns are imposed. What is being done is to optimize the current infrastructure which is already there, so that the best utilization can be taken, and the lifeline and the business activity through the Zoom calls, through video calls, through broadband and telecom penetration can be done. So I think that is going to be the new normal. And the change which is happening right now is going to be many, many fold. And the changes which we see right now are going to continue over the years.
Great,
Over to
Prashant.
Vivek.
And very valid point you made, that the fact that we are all holding this meeting today on Zoom itself is evidence that telecom is the backbone now. It was the backbone, and it is going to be the backbone for the future too. Next, we move on to Jonesji. I would like to ask from you, Mr. Jones, about how market research and data analytics, are going to change the entire marketing scenario, and how pandemic has affected this, area.
That we have to answer here is, there are certain changes. Sometimes we say that we want to change, but in actual, or in reality, we as human beings are actually very averse to change. We are, as part of our existence, we like to be inert, or there is a certain inertia that we actually gravitate to. So in all of this, you have this entire pandemic, which has become something which I would, in some cases, borrow a particular term called the black swan event, which has shaken up the entire globe. We have each of us talking about this particular phenomenon, this particular disruptor of our life. And we think that, how is life going to be? Life is no more the same it was as before. And is it going to really come back to normalcy? So we are actually talking about the new normal. And all of this is very true even for market research. How has it really changed? Let me just lay it out for you. Prior to the pandemic, or prior to COVID, as Nandaji, you referred to, before COVID, BC, we had this entire thing of in India particularly, fieldwork and data collection used to be face-to-face. But come the COVID and other challenges, what we have been able to do is move to a hybrid model, and in some cases completely change to a digital kind of a setup. So data collection happens online. It's not offline anymore. And there is now, therefore, a lot of these challenges which are thrown up, and in particular FMCG companies, a lot of the companies like the Levers and Procter Gambles and Britannias of the world, who do some of their product testing work with us. How do you go and place a product? And particularly when you have pandemic, and there are certain places where you cannot actually go and place your products because that particular place has become a micro containment area. How do you do your field work? Now, this is where it has all come to, and there is a lot of change, and there is constant change. As one of the panelists just mentioned, change is the constant. So if that is the case, research also has to keep pace with that. And that is exactly what has been done. And it is indeed correctly said that technology is the backbone. It is the spine on which a lot of our activities have also evolved and revolved around. And therefore, we have been able to do fieldwork. We are able to turn around projects and get the data up and running. A lot of our work, which used to be offline, have moved online, and therefore online data collection is something which has been there very much. And it is not that it is completely thrust upon us, as a take it or leave it kind of a situation. But as an organization, and when I speak about it, my previous organization, Kantar, we had a very conscious decision of moving to online. And there was very clearly the ramp up which was happening in terms of increased number of tablets and laptops and so on being used, PDAs and handheld devices, and even use of mobile for data collection. And this has therefore enabled us not to be caught on the wrong foot, or as we use the cricketing term, we are actually able to ride with the storm or ride the storm. And it is a storm that we are in. It is a black swan event. But yes, we are getting through, and we are making things happen. And I'll just wrap up saying this one other thing, that when we are looking at the number of data points that are being collected, even as we speak right now, there are about 5 billion internet users around the world, right? Even as we speak, there are about 9,000 plus tweets per second that are happening across the world. What it results very simply is there's a lot of data, and correct, it is big data. And therefore, analytics and how analytics needs to provide marketers with that edge in terms of decision making is very clearly that we need number crunching, and we need that kind of huge volumes of data to be analyzed and assist in the decision making. So that's really the change that we are talking about. Thank you.
Thank you, John sir, and very valid points. I was just reading an article the other day that information on Google gets doubled every 48 hours. So you can very well imagine the speed at which things are changing. They are so rapid that before we realize the change has happened. So moving on, Ravindraji, the next question comes to you. You have been a marketing expert, so please tell us, how has marketing evolved according to you? Pre-pandemic, and what is happening now, and what you see as the future of marketing. So
change pre-pandemic and post-pandemic is consumer insight. And Mr. Jones was talking about consumer insights in a very deep and practical issues on how to collect consumer insight. What thing has happened post-pandemic is love for home. Surely loving your wife and family, but love for home has really gone up by pressure, by love, whatever you want to say it. Why I'm saying so, it's reflected in the business. So nothing, not everything was negative post-pandemic. There was one pent-up demand, which was one word which everyone learned. I think a new word people learned after the 2 months of lockdown was the pent-up demand, or what was uncaptured demand for 2 months of lockdown, and suddenly it was a blast. And blast happened in entire consumer durable sector. People were buying more refrigerators, more television, bigger size televisions, better music system, all the Alexas of the world. But not just that. Since there is no public transport, cars, and every car, be it the luxury, non-luxury, mass, smaller cars, everyone made business out of it. So the love for themselves and family really grown up. Marketing people are also known as illusion artists. We create dreams and we create illusion for people to say that, oh, come and love me as a brand. But one thing has not changed, and I have multiple sessions with a lot of big leaders, business leaders. Brands who have invested on themselves as brand for future were the biggest gainers. The day there was lockdown, people were hoarding Maggies of the world. There was no sense of emergency to hoard a Maggie to your home, but people were going to floors. All of you must have experienced that all the hypermarkets were all empty. People were buying biscuits, they were buying Maggies. Surely the hoardings of the rations were happening onto it. One of the post-pandemic thing is, yes, uh, few organizations didn't have to invest too much into marketing, but making sure that products were available. That's it. If everyone said they change the marketing strategy, they are fooling. There was a big pressure on production team. There was a big pressure on supply chain team. There was a huge pressure on the retailing team to make sure hygienically product reach to consumer. And I think all the students would understand. I don't know how many of your Lloyd business students have attended last year's session physically. They have missed the college times. Uh, I met couple of management summer trainees who have seen the second year and maybe they will pass out the MBA without going to college, maybe. And that's one part of technology. But on organization culture, one thing has happened very positively. I don't know how much you will feel onto it, but people who are in corporate sector will understand. One, people understood technology importance. What we were trying to push people to download app were happening automatically, organically. You don't have to put money to download the apps. Point number one, which means only relevant apps will be downloaded. Irrelevant will get kicked out. Point number one. Second, meeting discipline. People know that there is a login time and a time of 1 hour to complete the meeting. And all stakeholders in one meeting. Nobody said, I got stuck because coffee pay, boss mil gaye the, coffee pay, someone else got stuck. What happened very beautiful was decision making on time. I've seen that happening in organization. There were faster decision happening because why this was important, because if you have to change marketing game, all has to be there. I think as a marketing, one thing has really changed. Surely digital got its own beautiful importance. All the students and youngsters would say they are a digital age people. We come from an era where we have removed shoes outside the computer room to enter a lab, to today's sessions where my kids teach me how to put filter in my Zoom, who are just 5 and 6 years. So that's the world has changed, and not just them. The youngster is not the only reason, but people who understand. There were people in corporate who are seniors and were hesitant to use technology, has adapted themselves to technology. The biggest asset to all of us in marketing is you don't have to make people accustomed to new technology. Today, you don't have, today when I am coming from a durable industry, a lot of IoT based solutions are being projected as not just high tech brand, but IoT for your service. Today, it's technology is not a buzzword, but a utility word. Today people want technology which can be used. When we were growing up, mobile was just on and off. Today, we don't have to graduate people or explain them how to use app inside your phone. People have graduated themselves, and I'm not talking about people in 20s and 30s. I'm talking about people in 40s and 50s who are also the biggest decision maker on majority of consumer goods. Because they have the money, they have they are in a life cycle where they can take decision of buying the luxury, buying the economy. Uh, Wrapping up in a short, precise, not everything went bad post pandemic. Not everything went bad post pandemic. Reason being, as a marketer, I have to be optimistic about everything which is happening new. Digital will get its own relevance, but one thing will remain always. The basic is basic, which has been taught to us when I was doing an MBA, and you guys are learning now. The first P of the anything is product. People need good product. If you fail in good product, your brand will collapse. Today, consumer are more ruthless than what it used to be 10 years. People, when yesterday they were ready to wait for 1 day, 1 week, 10 days, 30 days to get their product serviced. Today, it's not the reality. If you don't cater them well, you are out. So it's service is not service, service is marketing nowadays. If you don't reach on time, if you don't tell you are reaching on time, if you don't tell consumer if you are not reaching on time, your brand is getting hit every now and then. And one more thing which has happened over a period of, I will not say just pandemic, people don't have patience. People need higher share of voice. The day they stop seeing communication, it is not for Tom to create TVCs or any other communication of mass. It is to stay relevant. The communication is important. The day you stop seeing Swiggy, you don't order on Swiggy. The day you start seeing more of Zomato around you, you stop ordering from Zomato. So share of voice is playing a huge role. Shorter communication. Now the brief given to agencies, tell the story in 3 seconds. Even 6 second bumper ad is old. 3 second is a new brief, or the GIF is the new brief to the everyone. So I saying, one, impatience in consumer has gone up. They want everything precise. Don't give too much gyan. Give precise information. We are smart enough to take decision making. That's what consumers say. I think today emotions, surely, one more thing happened post the first pandemic. I would say first post pandemic season. Don't take me otherwise negatively. Was nostalgia. Ramayana Mahabharat was relived its life, which we see in our times when we were growing up as young kids. But not just Ramayana Mahabharat, but you have seen the Amul ad from their archives. You have seen the archives of Daldas, and those brand really gain, which means legacy is not wasted. If you have invested on brand over the years, it is not going to be wasted. So investing on brand has become even more serious. Consumer insight become even more serious. I think whatever we know till now on consumer behavior need to be rechecked after 2021, whether we are knowing it right or not, because the way we need to communicate, maybe end of 21 or 22, I'm highly optimistic that by mid-year 21 we would be all through these problems of the world. But by 2022, world has to evolve in how they will communicate with the consumers. And consumers age is decreasing, not by physical age, their mental age of absorbing the data. I would sum up like that.
Thank you so much, Ravindra. Great insights into marketing pre-pandemic and post-pandemic. I'm reminded of my college days, when we used to have this sweet meat called Rola Cola. And Rola Cola was, something like Poppins. And we used to just, pop it in the mouth and it would give you a taste of Coca-Cola. And this was very popular then. And after 10 years, Parle, which was the brand owner, withdrew this product. So just before the pandemic, someone tweeted, I miss my Rola Cola days. And he also tagged Parley in the tweet. Immediately, the Parley marketing department, came back with a tweet saying, if we get 10,000 retweets, then we'll think of relaunching Rola Cola. Dear students, you will be shocked to know there were 1 million retweets across India, across the world, that we miss our Rola Cola days. That was actually market research, business analytics, social marketing, media marketing, everything rolled into one tweet changed the entire world for that company and that product. And Rola Cola was relaunched. A marketing guru sitting in this panel can vouch that launching or relaunching a product can cost you anything like 7 to 8 crores minimum, with 2 to 3 crores going to the likes of Shah Rukh Khan or Deepika Padukone. Here was a tweet which didn't cost even 1 rupee. This is the power of social media. This is the power of Twitter. This is what Instagram is. This is what Facebook is all about. So next to Balaji, he is our marketing guru who will tell us now about the power of social media and how it's changing marketing. Over to you, Balaji, sir.
So the example that you gave in the Rola Cola ad, I think it's a very right and apt example which you gave in. So consumers and customers are basically not there, watching television or not there seeing any reading any newspapers. They are there in the social media. And social media, in fact, it has not been popular now. It has been there in India for more than 2 decades. But the relevance of social media has really, tremendously got accelerated. And pandemic has been a catalyst to it, because everybody is having that much of screen time. Social media is no more, of course, it is, because of pandemic and COVID-19, people want to get in touch with their loved ones, their family, office colleagues, and obviously work in that sense. And social media also has a big role to play to reach out to the consumers and lead generation, marketing, branding in that sense. But social media has done something really big, I feel, post the first wave of COVID-19, and it is presently doing also, where marketers are basically repositioning the brand from their side, and customers are also seeing that what is my brand doing. I have been buying products like the legacy product that you mentioned. There are so many of them. So customers are also seeing that the product that I have been using for the last 20 years, 30 years, 40 years of my life, at this hour, when society needs them, how are they repositioning in that sense, and how are they presenting to the larger good of the community? How are they reaching out to the customers and consumers in that sense? Just to give an example to get my point across, I'm sure a lot of our people would have seen an ad of Lifebuoy. Typically, ads typically talk about the benefits of a product, their own product. But during pandemic, they said that, the Achhi Aadatein ad, they said that you, for the Achhi Aadatein jani nahi chahiye, and you need to wash your hand, continue washing your hand, either from a Lifebuoy soap or from any other soap or from a sanitizer. So they are looking beyond their own top line and bottom line. And this is basically syncing with the customer. Customer is able to relate, because it is not the usual marketing and things like that. So those things are really making a huge difference, the way companies are driving it. And customer is basically getting trust. Customer is able to generate a lot of trust with those brands. And this is not only during now in pandemic and COVID, post-pandemic also, post-COVID also, that relationship with consumers, that relationship with brands and companies, consumer are going to have for a very, very long time. In social media, when people have been totally glued to it, companies like Nike have the tagline which they have, just do it. They changed their tagline, they twisted it. They said that just do it, stay home, play inside, and this time you can play for the world, because they have celebrities and people who do their ads from different sports, basically players who play different sports. But this time they said that stay inside, and you're not playing a sport, probably football or badminton or hockey or cricket. You're playing for the entire world. So that repositioning basically in the social media which companies have been doing. I think it resonates with the customers, and I feel that now not only the top brands, bigger brands who are any which ways there, they have been there in the mass marketing media, they have been there in the social media, but I feel a lot of other smaller players, in the MSME sector, in the mid market segment as well, they have seen that during COVID times, it's highly critical that you need to be there in Facebook, you need to be there in LinkedIn, you need to be there in Twitter. So because that's what really driving the traction, and that because customers are there, and so many brands I know that who have not been driving social media per se in that sense before pandemic, they felt that this is the only thing that they can do, and in fact you won't believe that there are so many companies who have driven new strategies in social media to drive their customer traction, to drive business in that sense, and they have been highly in fact driven probably higher numbers, higher business than typically what others would have driven, or probably same numbers what would have driven previous years. So social media is probably has been the key word in that sense in the last more than 1 year, and this importance would remain so probably in the post-pandemic sessions also, post-pandemic years also, and that
session or next section rather, wherein questions will be put up to all the panelists, but you would be requested please to answer within 2 minutes, because that way we'll get more questions and more coverage of varied topics. So my first question in this section goes to Saloni ji. Saloni ji, sales employees, marketing employees, vice presidents, persons on the street selling, all of them have gone through trauma. And how do you, look after the employee motivation, be it the top management and be it the people on the street? As a HR professional, what's your insight? 2 minutes.
I think there are some key areas where engagement and motivation can work beautifully well. Number one is first having priority of communication. So once we've established an effective communication channel for enabling successful remote work, especially for remote work, it will help us in building a healthy work culture. And that also will help people stay connected and not feeling isolated. So most of the time, the demotivation happens when you are alone, you're frustrated, when you have nobody to share stuff with. So prioritization of communication is very important. Secondly, we've seen this way where we had so many of these Zoom sessions, so many, employee sessions around, whether it's, having a bring your own coffee or bring your own booze session where people were just relaxing, talking, and general chit chat, where you had sessions helping people unwind, helping people, reconnect with their employee, with their fellow colleagues. So things like these are definitely, have actually shown the effort that HR has put to bring people together. That's from the connection perspective. From a business perspective, it's important again, to maintain clear direction, to maintain clear goals, because at the end of the day, we're all working towards a purpose, whatever that vision is, and us being a part of that organizational clear goal. So without having clear goals, employees can lose their sense of direction, and they may fail to work towards the success of the organization, specifically when we're talking about such tough times. So goals will give people a guide. They will be able to understand what is it that they need to really be working upon. And senior leadership, what they need to do here is also make sure that they're also in touch with their people. They're also recognizing and they're also appreciating the hard work, because all said and done, it's not easy, right? In the same, from working from home, you have your spouse, you have your children, you have your parents. Everybody has a life, and everybody has to go on, get on to do stuff that they have to do. And in the middle of that, you have your stuff to do as well. So appreciation and recognition is very important. Understanding is very important. Empathizing is very important. And do go ahead and give feedback. Regularly provide feedback, constructive feedback, wherever you feel that, this person is probably losing it, or this person is probably, facing a challenge. Make sure that you have those conversations. And important to educate managers, important to enable them to be able to actually handle a workforce which is no longer in front of them, which is totally remote. So I believe some of these things can really be helpful for helping you engage and motivate your workforce.
Thank you so much, Saloni ji. Great insights into the HR angle of motivation. And moving on, I read it on WhatsApp almost 6 months back कि दुनिया से कोरोना खत्म करना है, दाल चावल चीनी नहीं खत्म करनी है. Because everyone became a home chef, everyone became a foodie, and we were all making besan ke laddus and burfis and things of our own choice. That was the time FMCG sector was growing, and it was growing fantastically. ITC and HUL have broken all their previous records. So my request to Naveen ji that please give us details of how the FMCG sector has come out shining in such pandemic times. Over to you, Naveen ji. Naveen ji, please unmute yourself.
Yeah, so see, we were all sitting up, we were all, sitting at our home. So one of the important things was on everybody's mind to eat healthy, to eat fresh. And, this directly translates into a big business for FMCG. But as we all know that FMCG sector, besides having good products, I think one of the very important point in FMCG is the distribution. And fortunately for us, the internet consumption or internet usage had increased, say, in the last 2 quarters, in the Q1 to Q2 in the last year. I read somewhere this went up by about 50%. So which means a distribution channel for FMCG was already swelling up. It was reaching more houses. And that had a very, very phenomenal effect on the consumption of the FMCG products. Now, everybody's sitting at home, they need to eat healthy, and they need to eat now. And on the top of it, we have a distribution channel like online, which is readily available. More and more people are using internet. And therefore, all these companies of FMCG, they were able to not only penetrate the homes through their channel, they were also able to launch new products, new variants, suiting the tastes of the people, reposition their products as healthy alternatives to many of the existing products. So I feel this was a very, very right time for FMCG to gain a lot of mind share, time share, and money share for themselves.
Great, Naveen ji. And now, we see that, other than FMCG, one thing which has really changed our lives today is the digital payments. And, in digital payments, our car wala, car saaf karne wala, your coconut water man, your Kamwali bhai, everyone is now on Paytm, or they are using some UPI or Bhim app. Didi, aaj main nahi aane wali hu, mere payment kar dena Paytm pe. Just imagine, my car wash wala sent me an SMS the other day, saying, ke abhi to sir lockdown hai, Paytm kar do. This is how you see it has permeated to the last level or the lowest level of the pyramid, if I am allowed to use that terminology. So Prashant ji, you being a business leader in digital payments, I would like to know from you how digital payments have transformed and how marketing is going to change forever with digital payments. Over to you, Prashant ji.
Thanks, Nanda ji. See, digital payment is a very new industry in India, around 8 to 10 years old. There are few inputs which were already coming to the industry. Okay, in forms of India is a innovation hub for fintech and among the top 5 countries in fintech innovation. Side by side, government push has been coming in the last few years, added by demonetizations, GST. And COVID has further added a push to the entire digital payments and demonetization. So what is happening is that this category was started around 2012-13. UPI was launched in 2016. I was part of the team which launched the Vodafone Payment Bank along with the Airtel Payment Bank wallet in 2013. Those were the times when nobody was touching the product. In fact, we had some 5,000 promoters. I was head of Vodafone for Delhi, and then nationally we had 5,000 promoters who were teaching customer by customer in cities, outside ATMs, outside bank slots, outside our retail shops, how to do a transaction. Okay, it was taking us 2-3 years to reach at that level, but see how things have changed in the last 2-3 odd years. The things that it was a push-based industry till 2-3 years, but because of combination of factors added with COVID, it has become a pull base. Now everybody is asking because there's a need which has certainly risen out of COVID. It has changed from a incentive paid. This industry used to pay a huge incentive for customers to learn, whereas now Paytm has started charging 1.5 to 2% on loading of the wallet. So there's a huge sea change which has happened in the last few years. Let me give you one more example. When I was promoting this wallet in Bihar around 2013-14, and we thought that banking has not penetrated deep down. Let us tie up with all the schools in Bihar, and customers will be able to make payments, school payments through this wallet. We tried our level best, but it took us so much time, and we were not very successful. We were able to convert only 1 or 2 schools. Whereas now, if you see the entire school college fees in the current scenario, the online education fees, the food and broadcast industry, everybody is paying through the digital wallet. So through digital wallet and the UPI. So 4 things which have actually pushed in a very big way, okay, which is UPI, wallet, debit credit cards, online. The debit credit cards are still not taken that big in the rural area. But let me share 1 or 2 figures with all of you to say how things have changed in the last few days. There's some 76% growth which has happened in digital payments in the last 12 months. Close to 55% growth has come from Tier 1 and Tier 2 and Tier 3 cities, which shows how digital adoption has gone across. And the categories which is helping in digital adoption are digital payments, school fees, Zomatos of the food world, and all the online education which is helping through this. Just one more figure which I'd like to quote. New industry, UPI was launched in 2016. Okay, just 2016. Wallets were launched in 2013. There are 4.93 lakh crore of UPI value transactions have happened in April 2021, which is around 2.64 billion transactions and around 2.6 times growth over April 2020. So this is how, with all the factors, that digital payment industry has exploded, and next few years it's going to have a joyride.
Great, Prashantji. Great figures showing us that how digital banking is going to be the order of the day, and there is no escape. We have to live with it. That's writing on the wall. Moving on, Ravindraji, marketing of durables. That's really something which has evolved, and we have been seeing so many electronic showrooms coming up. Which are available online also. The likes of Vijay Sales and Sargam Electronics, which were predominantly physical stores, have moved digital. We have Chromas and Reliance and so many more coming up. So in a short, brief answer, please tell us what is the future of durable sales now and durable sales marketing. Over to you, sir.
Yeah. Thank you so much. To everyone, durable is one category which is normally you buy for roughly 5 to 6 years of life, be it a television, be it a car, be it anything. Large format retails, the fashion started down south, and we understand how sari stores or a Shravana stores of the south taught India on a large format retail. I'm not talking about an international model. Surely international model always existed. But the domestic brands, when you took Vijay Sales as a name, Sargams as a name, the large format retail were the attraction point in South or Western India because people wanted to go where there was large display. Sargam may have good stores, but compared to that of West and Southern India, their store size is still smaller. The Sargam is one good example of large retail here in India, in the northern India, or Mr. or Khosla for that matter in the east that way. But large format was always an attraction down south or west. Reason being, people want to see more variety than decide. I think with the changing adaptation of the technology, uh, everyone has realized they can't live without e-commerce. And giving every opportunity to Amazon and the Flipkarts of the world is also the adding cost to the organization. Because the cost at which you do business with the online portals is very, very high. You know, not just the world is, they are just marketplace. Just by placing your product, you don't sell. You have to further invest marketing in those portals again to make sure you are visible there. So one has to really realize the cost of operations. Second, the real estate cost. There is a sea change. You know, the world has renegotiated on real estate prices last year. Huge loss. Surely there is a banking sector which will get impacted. There would be real estate developers who will be getting impacted. All those half of the offices which are because of work from home has been vacated are the empty, what do you say, empty spaces which are not being consumed. The durable sector will have one big change is the e-commerce. Sure, as at Hindware, we also have a brand called Evoke, EVOK, which is a furnishing store. So we had close to 45 physical stores. In the last pandemic, we took also call when we see the visits to stores are not happening at all because of whatever reasons. You see Pepper Fry, Urban Club, other competitors into it. But when online promotion came in, you know, the one of the biggest selling product, two big selling product. One is office chairs and tables. You know, you for obvious reason, the Saloni would be one of the reasons for it. Work from home. So people need to have tables and chairs. That's kind of product. Another beautiful product which sold highly into all these platforms was recliners. So there would be preference sets. You know, normally the biggest thing which sell on an online platform or an offline store in a durable sector is beds or sofas. But what was selling last 1 year was recliners, massagers, more of decorative item, lamps at home, and the highest volume tables and chairs, purely office requirement, office at home kind of or maybe student at home, both. No, it's even the student at home was on there. The durable industry will see a change. One of the biggest example is men moving to kitchen by force or by love, whatever you want to call it. One category got a unique sale which everyone banged their head was dishwashers. When there is no one, dishwasher is the product which sold maximum in this year for every brand. And purely who had the product, it got sold. Nobody advertised. It was pure display in the store physically or on online. Surely, again, online became extremely important. All those categories, because men move into kitchen, the biggest problem with men is they always look for convenience. So when they cook, more cutleries comes to home. They use every kind of knives, you know, all 5 set knives. I am also a forcible home chef, but I use many kind of cutleries. You know, I will use every size of chopsticks onto it. The sale of such items are going on to be very, very high. So the huge study when I was talking about who is doing what at home. So washing machine, which was basically most of the time you see advertisement, it's women's department. It's no more. It's no more. So it's a pure share of load campaign, which Airtel used to do it earlier is relevant today. It's not share of load. Do your own job. Everyone is supposed to do their own job because the only thing, another product which got a sale, which was a huge backlash, was the brand like Dyson has done a huge business is vacuum cleaners. You don't have a maid at home. The vacuum cleaners. So I'm talking about those categories which were hugely promoted but failed by every brand, got an opportunity, pure scope consumption at home. And whenever men move into kitchen or men get involved into home, the gadgets will take more scope because they need a good help of technology. And whenever there is technology, they will be the lazy lads who will look for IoT solution. They are the men would be the lazy dad who would say, sitting in office, if my vacuum cleaner can be operated, if my geysers can be operated, if my cooking can be operated, they would love for technology. So in time to come, you will see more IoT enabled technology coming in front of the market. Hector is another good example of car, the internet car, how they promote it. I don't know what will be the future next, but when they launch as an internet car, they got a lot of recognition or love from the consumer. One more durable thing will happen is technology loaded communication and technology loaded product. I think that will be the huge transformation. And if you communicate right, people will come to them without much of effort. I think that would be the huge transformation you will see in durables to time to come.
Great, sir. Great. And I think such are the times, that we need to think out of the box. I'm reminded of an example of how, Ratan Tata was once, perplexed about the sales of Tata Nano going down. And that point of time, he roped in chief executives of all industries, to give him ideas. So there was a gentleman called Mr. Kishore Biani, all of us know as the founding father of Big Bazaar, who gave an idea to him. He said, why don't you send me 250 big, Tata Nanos? I'll place them in every Big Bazaar because both of us are selling to the bottom of the pyramid. And Mr. Tata agreed. And history was created when 5,000 Nanos were sold through this, outlet of Big Bazaars, across India. It was history created in India and also in the world. कि दाल चावल चीनी की दुकान में कभी कार नहीं बिकी थी, and that was done in India and by a brain of Mr. Kishore Biani. So thinking out of the box is very, very important. John sir, wanted to know from you about rural marketing, how that's going to change post-pandemic and how thinking out of the box is going to, really be very, very interesting now. Thank you, sir. Please.
Yeah, rural marketing also has been very much a big challenge, even before the pandemic took over. So even companies like right from Unilever to, I would say, the Parle-G's of the world, Nestle or any of the MNCs, they have been struggling for their extra bit of muscle and presence on the ground when it comes to rural. So therefore, always there has been this entire aspect of non-traditional marketing channels that they have been looking at. So for example, the use of village hearts, the use of fairs, and some of these are the existential, I would say, question marks which have always dogged the marketers even in the pre-pandemic era. So that is something which has been really a struggle and really a challenge for a lot of the companies which came to India when, for example, when the markets opened up after the some of the students perhaps may not know the history of this, but the 1970s, when companies were forced to go back and go outside of India after the emergency and that kind of period, there was this entire phase that India faced in terms of a protectionist kind of a regime, which very strongly did not like foreign products into India. And then we had the 90s, which liberalization came up, and we know glasnost and perestroika, which kind of shook the world, the globe itself. And in India, we had the liberalization, agenda, which the government of the day, ran. And very clearly, Manmohan Singh, as a finance minister at that point in time, was somebody who was very much instrumental in opening up the Indian economy. And when that happened, obviously these were the challenges. Rural markets, kind of gave a very huge challenge to all the marketers. And that is something even today, it does exist. There are more than 6 lakh, in fact, 6,40,000 villages that India has. And this is the kind of hugeness. I mean, we are talking about a continent by itself. It's a Europe by itself that we are talking about of India. So every 400 kilometers you travel, 500 kilometers you travel, the cuisine, the people, the dialect. If I use a dialect as a word, some of the linguists will actually take up their guns and come after me. The language changes, right? The culture changes. And what works, for example, in South and Deep South, what works, let's say, in Telangana does not work in rest of UP. AP, sorry. So this kind of diversity which has always been there, the taste that changes, the culture that changes, has always been such a big puzzle. It's almost like my daughter, who is 10 years old, she says, "Dad, I want to do the 1,000-piece puzzle." Now, where do you start and where do you end? And how do you really get the big picture? And that's where consumer understanding, and I believe Ravi brought this up very, very clearly upfront. Understanding of the market, understanding of consumers, understanding of their psyche is going to be critical, and that's extremely important. And at the same time, let's not also fall into a trap where we say, there is India and there is Bharat, and look, rural people do not understand technology. I'm sorry, it doesn't just cut at all. Ravi will say, and he knows, where, for example, the Whirlpools and LGs of the world have sold their washing machines the most. They have sold them in rural parts of Punjab and Chandigarh and the northern India, where washing machines were not used for washing clothes. They were used for lassi making lassi. Yes, absolutely. So you give consumers a product, and you think, sitting in your AC boardrooms, that look, let me segment, let me target, let me position. Let me tell you, consumers will come back to you and they will shock you. And that's typically why we need market research and better consumer understanding, because what you intend, consumers to do, they don't do it. And which is exactly why you have, for example, in the Philip Kotlers of the world today, you have the classic case of Marlboro and how it was, this entire, image and imagery, like you said earlier, the aspirations that the marketer kind of sells, the advertising person sells to the consumer, and says that, like, here is this cowboy, and the cowboy, and the man who is smoking the cigarette. Fundamentally, it was actually a cigarette that was actually a failed product amongst women as a target group. But that's how it is. Rural India is very much like that. They will shock you. Some of the most luxurious cars, for example, they sell, for example, Mercedes, BMW, they sell by far, if you ask me, in tier 2, tier 3 towns than necessarily the metro cities. In fact, businessmen in metros, they buy their cars and they buy it under the name of the business. But you'll have a rural guy in Bhatinda or Jalandhar or in Aurangabad or somewhere down country, who will be buying it on their name.
Absolutely right, sir. And building on that, the great sales which happen on Amazon and Flipkart, there were some very interesting figures which came out. 78% of all mobile phones which were sold during last 2 sales were sold in rural segment. Just imagine. I mean, it's not that people in Delhi, Mumbai, Calcutta and Madras were buying the mobile phones online. It was people in the rural segment, because one, they didn't have the choices available to them before. Second is, there were payment options which were available. There was COD which was available. There was EMI option available. There was EMI on debit card which was available. So see how digital banking and social media marketing has changed the entire scenario of the rural belt coming to the forefront The maximum number of lipsticks today sold are sold in rural. The maximum number of washing machines which are sold today are sold in rural. So, I mean, there is no end to the figure work, we all are very crazy about our motorbikes, the motorbikes, 80% of our motorbikes today and future are going to be sold in the rural segment because they are the rough and tough bikes of the world. So this is what, is happening as of now. Balaji, sir, one thing which I want to know from you is the corporate social responsibility. This is one area, which is now engulfing marketing because every company wants to portray itself, as if they are doing great CSR work, which most of them are doing too. And how do they use it as a marketing channel or imaging for themselves? So very briefly, sir, 2 minutes on this.
See, effective CSR for any company ensures that the brand just stands out. See, you talk about any industry or any market, markets are at some level saturated. You talk about urban markets or rural markets. So the moment you talk about that, I am giving back something to the society, it resonates with the customer. The loyalty increases, customer feels associated. In today's time, in pandemic, if I can relate to this phase, in a very large duration phase, probably I would relate something to 2008, the financial crisis, financial, problems which happened. So there, in times like this, everyone is under stress. So probably employees will not feel secure in their jobs, and employees will feel that, what will happen tomorrow? I don't know, that there would be, people would be sent home or whatever. Suppliers would feel that probably, somebody who has taken the ordered something, is he going to make the payment or not, right? Companies are worried about that, what would happen in terms of, my customers, I'm going to lose my base, lose my market share. Government might worry that probably, during these times, probably how I'm going to collect my taxes. Probably the tax I'm going to collect a lesser tax in that sense. A shareholder in such times feels that probably, what will happen to my share prices? It might decrease. So, when economy stops, everybody has a negative feeling. And so there was also research done based on this, corporate social responsibilities and the impact it has on customers. Basically, it was done by Klein and Chorus, and it came out in 2013. So it in fact proved that, organizations who are actually into corporate social responsibilities, they tend to recover from difficult times much more faster and much more robust post the pandemic or post the problem also, because the end customer is able to associate with them, and they say, and one for the first point is that he's going to trust the company, because now the customer knows that the company has not only been talking, it has walked the talk also. Whatever it has been stating on the mission, vision, goals for so long, in difficult times it stood by it. So that is like very, very critical from that perspective. And from the employee motivation act, also the employee is also very much motivated. It knows that the company is standing by what it says. It really means what it says. And everyone, we all have been a customer. We feel, proud when we know that whatever money that I am investing in a product or in a brand, which is going out of my pocket, it is coming back to the society. So in a way, it is, coming back to the people at large. So I think corporate social responsibility in that sense has been is the key, and it really has a deep impact in creating loyalty, in creating customer base, in enlarging the customer base. And probably this is the reason that corporates are focusing in corporate social responsibility, because it helps all the stakeholders, customers, internal stakeholders, employees, management, everyone in that sense.
Great, sir. Great insights into CSR. I was reminded of one beautiful market communication which once came from a mutual fund company called Franklin Templeton. This happened some 4 or 5 years back when the markets were very bad and people were out to take their money out of their mutual funds. तो एक हिंदी गाना था मूवी का जिसको उन्होंने अपनी टैगलाइन बनाया था, आज रिडेम्पशन की जिद ना करो. So this is how they were trying to send a message to the markets. भाई कुछ भी कर लो, redemption मत करो, because redemption puts lots of pressure on mutual funds to get the money back to the customers at a very, very short notice. So talking about that, we would now move to the final segment, which is question and answer. My request to students, faculties, teachers is that please ask your question very briefly. I was just, sifting through some questions. It's a mile and a half long question. So, the essence of the question is gone. Just put in one brief line, to give you details as to how, you want and what you want to answer, the panelists to answer. One question which I just read, which I'm putting on to the panelists, it's at free will, any of you can answer, is that what effect will the pandemic have on financial marketing? So anyone amongst you is most welcome to answer, sir. Financial marketing.
I think if I am to answer,
Please, sir, please.
I think that's prospering in one way or the other. Although the interest rate is at the lowest today, it's helping organization for taking loans at a small rate. Individual level, I think both for survival and both for reinvestment into something. In fact, property is one segment where the rates have gone down and people have invested on to buying a new property, or people have taken gold loans, which has gone up. And to give another Sensex to indication toward the Sensex, Bajaj Finserv or Bajaj Finance, one of the brands which have gone multiple times. If you go, people who understand stock market, they are one who are making profit like anything, despite the percentage going down, and their share price has multiplied by 2 times in last 6 months or so. So not just finance sector. I think weak financial organization will always die. That's for sure. And brand who are not transparent or brands who are doing fraudulent, one incidence and brand will collapse.
Excellent. Great point there. I mean, just building on what Raviji said regarding Bajaj Finserv, Bajaj is in the exercise of now taking over Bank of Maharashtra. Both of them are Pune based, and that's going to be announced very soon. It's been there in the financial newspapers for a couple of days. So that's in the might of an NBFC buying a bank. That would be something, a bank buying an NBFC could be understood, but now it's reverse. This is the pandemic time. NBFC is buying a bank, and mind you, Bajaj is not a small NBFC. The gross turnover is 52,000 crores. So you can very well imagine. Hindustan Levers at 57,000 crores and Bajaj Finserv at 52,000 crores. That's the turnover. So you can imagine the figures are matching. And to give you a future shock, Hindustan Levers is a 100-year-old brand in India. We have a 10-year-old brand in India called Amazon, which is already at 53,000 crores. So this is, the dynamics of figures, the way things are changing and changing very, very fast. Moving on, the next question is, how, digital privacy and data privacy are going to be affected by the pandemic, and how, marketing will change with these parameters. Open to anyone to answer who can take this question on digital privacy and data privacy.
Yeah, if I can, step
Please.
in and speak about that.
Yes,
yeah,
sir.
In fact, I've just mentioned something like this to Manish also in the chat, that data privacy is something which is extremely critical. And when you look at the entire spectrum, right from, we talk about classical marketing, you have product as the focus and production as a focus. And then you have the consumer as focus. And when you look at experience or, consumer experience specifically, you are really talking about the individual. And this is extremely, critical to really think about and step back, because we collect information now, or we are in big data times where a lot of consumption data, which can be actually linked back to the user or the consumer, is now available to the marketer or to various agencies. The question about consumer data privacy or privacy in general is something which is extremely critical. And in fact, this is a moot point in the West. Already Europe and US they have very distinct and very, very clearly laid out rules which are called the GDPR. And they are now very much in force. Why I wanted to step in is market research as a body, or is something that operates very much like, let's say, the medical fraternity, where you have the doctor-patient, privacy, or what do you call typically the lawyer-client privilege, right? So a lot of what the patient confides it to you, or the lawyer is getting as information from the person, is something which is bound by professional ethics. And market research also operates from that particular perspective. And here you have Netflix, Google, a lot of data-driven companies, Amazon, which have tons and tons of data which is linked to specific users. And it is actually where this entire moral question about how private are you, and there are certain movies which are out there which you will remember, movies like The Social Dilemma and so on, which brings up these critical questions back to you. And as a society, how much are we going to give up in terms of our life and our data and make it available to the public? And this is where critically, the industry needs to, and academia needs to step in and step up this entire, I would say, unifying of our voices, and say that government, when you frame laws, and in India, for example, the personal privacy kind of laws are still not in place. We need to really, ensure that these rules and these level playing grounds are very much laid down, and it protects the individual. It does not compromise on that, right?
In fact, Vivek ji, I would like to add just 2 lines. As a part of somebody who's worked in multinational especially for Vodafone for 12 years, we used to, as an employee, we used to quarterly update. There were quarterly sessions on digital privacy, cyber security, and the laws. Okay, and we used to sign saying that we will not share that information. So so I think in multinational companies, because of their global presence, they take it very, very seriously. Some Indian companies take it lightly, some are catching up. But brands which don't follow cyber security, digital privacy very, very carefully, they will be punished. There have been cases recently where emails and data have been thrown out, okay, through some hacking and all that. So companies in which this happens, they will be punished very, very badly by the customers.
Absolutely, sir. One common question coming from lots of students, Ini Chauhan has put up. Dr. Kriti also wanted me to take it up. This question, I'll be asking each one of you, just 10 seconds. What is more important? Is it, for a fresher, is it the brand or is it the package? So this is, they are all freshers who are ready to join corporate. So the question, the package which is being offered by companies for recruitment packages are important, or brands are important. So this is a big dilemma for these students. I can understand their pain. So Saloni ma'am is already raising a hand. Ma'am, first answer from you. 30 seconds we move to Prashant, 30 seconds we move to Balaji, 30 seconds we move to Jones, and 30 seconds to Naveen ji and Ravindran ji. So starting with Saloni ji.
I think it's the role is more important, because unless you learn in the role and you're passionate about the path that you wish to take in your career, that comes first. The brand and the money is actually secondary. Make sure that you do a job and you are very clear as to what is the role that you wish to get into.
Excellent. Excellent. Prashant ji, next to you.
I think the brand and role are very, very critical. When you keep on delivering, money follows and big companies follow you over the period of time.
Excellent, sir. Balaji, sir.
I think brand, out of brand and money, obviously it is brand, because typically large brands have processes are very streamlined. It's straightforward. The kind of induction that they do, the kind of grooming which happens for a fresher, it's enormous. So I think brand is something that people should go for. Even if smaller players are offering more, go for established brands, which sets you up for larger roles, larger growth in long term. So brand is something that you should go for, and not for money at the initial stage of your career.
Right, sir. Jones, sir.
Yeah, I have already put out my answer in the chat. I would say learning is the most important. learning is critical, and it is the primary pillar on which your entire career, your entire life will depend on. And the more you focus on that, whether it comes from, when I say, or, it should not be considered as brand as established company or established corporate. It is, or it can be even a small startup, but if the learning is big, I think that is where you should go for.
Next, Naveen ji.
Well, for me, neither brand nor money. What you should go for is, what is your experience that you are going to gain, which will go with you in the long run, right? So today, I would rather say, to my advice would be, don't fall for a big brand and not fall for the money. Why? Because the big brands of very big organizations give you everything on the platter. It's all set up. What do you do yourself? You don't really swim into rough waters, and that doesn't give you experience. Brands, everything is very smooth if you go for a big organization, and that is where you feel that everything will be given to me ready-made, and this is how the world should be. But yes, barring the big companies, the world out there, the smaller organization, they are very, very dynamic. The challenges are of different kinds, and that is what you should set up yourself for.
Great, Naveen ji. And Ravi ji, over to you.
Two short words. Once very famous statement by Jack Ma in one of the interview, he said, that never go for a big brand. Work for organization where you learn more things. In a small organization, you will have more responsibility, more people there to thrash you, and then you will become a more stronger professional than anything. But since I'm a brand man or marketing man, whatever I want to call myself, we want to create brand. You people from marketing and sales there, we are here to create brand. And somebody who are confused still with whatever panelists are saying, good brands respect good people, and they always have a good budget for the good people.
The choice is basically, that whether you want to be a small fish in a big pond or a big fish in a small pond. This is basically the question or the dilemma is. And
there is no dotted line to follow.
No dotted line. There is no dotted line to follow. Kriti ma'am, how much more time do we have? Do we take more questions, or there's a signal to wind up? Som sir, Kriti ma'am, please enlighten us on this.
Since we have lots of questions, so we can take 2-3 more questions and then we need to wind up.
Okay, ma'am. Thank you so much. So another question which I see popping up, every now and then is about social media marketing and the role and the future. So again, we'll have a 30-second, from each one up. This time starting with Ravi ji and going to Naveen ji next. So Ravi ji, your take on social media marketing and the future in social media marketing.
Look, too much is too bad. This is a common proverb. Too much talk of social media in last 6 years. Excess talk in current area. So like, as you have too many fans, there are a lot of people go back. People want to come out of stress, so people are moving out of WhatsApp. People are moving out of news channels. Social media will change its form. We predicted WhatsApp will take over Facebook. It happened in front of us. The world of technology will transform very soon, but mode of social communication will always exist. Role of brand will change. Brand has to have enough share of voice, but they have to make sure that consumer don't want too much gyan and too much of loading.
Great.
Brand need to be cautious.
Great, sir. Naveen ji, over to you.
Well, social media, I would call it as a necessary evil in many circumstances. See, you have to be very, very choosy about what you want to consume and what you want to ignore. Because social media is nothing but at times it is anarchy, it is chaos. So as a customer, as a brand, I need to know where do I need to focus my energies on. I can't be there everywhere, and I should not be there everywhere. I must know, in the limited period of time, what should I listen to and what should I ignore.
Excellent, sir. John, sir.
I would actually, second the same kind of sentiment or thought which Naveen ji just shared. My dad used to say this, that look, television and what programming comes on television, because he belonged to that era. He said, not everything that that comes on television is something that you need to be consuming. There is always the on-off button or the remote. The remote is in your hand and you can control. The same way, another word of wisdom which would come is, you cannot stop the crow that is flying from flying over your head, but definitely you can stop the crow from building its nest on your head. So that's something that definitely is the way forward. And when we look at the entire evolution of marketing, we are moving from mass marketing to micro marketing or micro targeting. And when that happens, social media is something which is, as Naveenji said, necessary evil. It is actually democratization of everything to the individual. You have a screen and you have your mobile that is in your hand, and everything is in your hand. It is your choice. Ultimately, you have to choose your battle, what to ignore, what to fight for. And most critically, I think Saloni ji mentioned, what is important? You are the brand. So you have to choose what you stand for, and you need to pick your battles. You need to pick your personality and what your values are.
Absolutely, sir. Times have really changed. 10 साल पहले मदर्स कहती थी कि कपड़े गंदे करके क्यों घर में आए हो. आज वही मदर टीवी में बोलती है दाग अच्छे हैं. So things are really changing. Balaji, over to you.
Sir, I think social media marketing would remain a necessary evil, because we are not looking at larger mass trends. We are looking at data, what an individual is doing. And in social media, people in an informal setup, they tend to share their inner desires, basically what they actually like and what they are actually doing in that sense, or what they're actually saying and what they're actually doing, which basically gives marketer the real understanding of that customer, what exactly he is, what all things he's spending time on. And through various social media campaigns and marketing events and engagement with these set of customers, we can actually influence the customer right at his home, before he steps out, before he goes to a showroom, or decides, looks into a different, so many options which are there in large format showrooms. Basically, before he goes and looks for option, you basically preset his mind to you design his thoughts, basically what exactly he should be having, and influencing that. I think social media is going to play a very critical role, and more importantly, to touch him emotionally and create a larger loyalty for the company or for the brand.
Great, sir. Prashant ji, over to you.
Speaking for students, so all of you are brands, so I agree with Naveen ji, it's a necessary evil. But you being student, you must explore all the modes of social media and excel in it, because you'll have to sell yourself very soon. Thanks. Great. But to a limited manner.
Right, sir. Saloni ji, last take on this issue.
Yes. So, so there are two ways in which you can approach social media. One is, what do you contribute to it? How do you contribute to social media, and what is it that you take away from it? When we talk about contribution to social media, what is the kind of content you're putting out? What kind of brand image are you actually creating for yourself? And I believe that is where you actually have a responsibility, because what stays on social media will stay, right? What you put out there is going to stay for a long time. So make sure the content that you are putting out there, the way you are leveraging social media for building your own brand, that's very crucial. That's going to stay for a very long time. So make sure that you're getting the best out of it for yourself. That's really contributing. What do you take away? And not just in social media, but what do you take away from everything that's happening in your environment? So choose well. Choose what kind of information is really good. The information which is positive, the information that is useful, the information which is actually going to help you build up, and actually just ignore what is not relevant. So ignore the relevant, choose what really matters, and not just when it comes to social media or the information what information you should choose, what you should let pass. Look at your skills, look at what skills you need to focus on, and it's all there. Somebody asked the question, what should I do in the personal or professional space? What kind of significant actions are you taking? That's where I think look around. So consume, but make sure that you are using it to your advantage and not letting yourself flow with it in the negative sense. So that's my 2 cents.
Thank you so much. And one question which is coming from Dr. Kriti, which is being forwarded by lots of students, is they want to know what is unique that each organization of yours, to the best of your knowledge, or any other industry which with you are associated with, has done during the pandemic. So, starting with Naveen ji, anything unique your current organization, or you are in knowledge of any other organization which has done something very unique during the pandemic? Kindly share that for the benefit of students.
Okay. So I think the one thing that we have done is the internal communication has been strengthened. Okay. So earlier our CEO, the owner, was not talking to people very often, not because he never wanted to, but because his priorities were different. But with this pandemic on for last 6 months or more, one thing that I have done, and we have been talking to him, is for him to talk more to the people, either through WhatsApp messages or through email or in physical whenever there was an opportunity. And that has really, brought the bonding of the employees with the organization, bonding among themselves, and this gives them a more secure and safer feel that in spite of the adverse environment outside, this organization or this particular person or the owner is with me. So pardon me, I am actually talking from the point of view of smaller organizations, the startups, because the visibility of the owner is very, very critical for the morale of the employees.
Great, sir. Great. Raviji, what's your take on this?
One of the biggest thing which good organization, including my organization, has taken is change the investment, not stop the investment, change the investment mode. In fact, we have increased the pie of investment on digital marketing. I think if we were giving 35% of pie on digital marketing, we have increased beyond 50% of our investment towards digital marketing. Organization need to be smart, because at digital, you know whom you're communicating. And at least if it's not working, you know when to stop, where to stop. That's one. Brands have also made sure they have not stopped communicating with the consumer. Those brand who will stop communicating with brand will die soon. So that's the thing which we have made sure, not stop budget, change the mode of communication, launch products which are more relevant to them. One of the interesting product is the Purge we have launched, which is an sanitizer made from pure water, which is at surface disinfectant, and reduce price by almost 40%. I'm talking about the retail price. Trying to make sure that it's affordable and consumable, not premium and anything, not imagery, purely practical. So one has to be sense of consumer, sense of budget, and never ignore consumer communication, because the day you will do, brand will die.
Great, great, sir. Saloni ma'am, any take on this?
Yeah, so I guess some of the innovations that have happened around this keeping people engaged from at least the clients that I'm working with.
Ma'am, a bit louder, please. Bit louder.
We've seen lots of organizations do lots of different programs for employee wellness around wellness, whether it's yoga, whether it is Zumba, whether it is even launching an employee assistance program, making available services where employees want to talk to, let's say a therapist or somebody, one-on-ones. Those are some of the unique things I learned about an organization that has done a PMS, which is now on a daily basis. So I don't know how revolutionary that is going to be in times to come. But yes, certainly, I believe that I think everybody's looking at how do we do things quickly now. Both flexibility and agility are very key to these times.
Great, great. Am I reminded, of reading an article on LinkedIn where it told, how companies are evolving and how marketing has evolved, Zomato tied up with grocers because Zomato was not delivering in those days. So they started delivering for grocers. Domino's tied up with ITC. Uh, Uber tied up with Spencer's Group in South India. Swiggy tied up with Marico. So see how transformations are happening within companies, when the pandemic started. Now, of course, companies have matured, people have learned how to deal with the pandemic, and so have the companies. Prashantji, your 30 seconds on how unique, decisions are being taken by corporates.
So basically, a lot of employee health packages have got launched. Companies had tied up with hospitals for their employees. They have allowed vaccination. A lot of large companies have worked out vaccinations. A lot of companies have gotten small investments like putting table and chairs for work from home. Okay, because not all employees had that thing. And some companies have stopped. Some managers and companies have made sure they don't make a call after 7:30 or 8 in the evening.
Great, great, sir, great. And John, sir, over to your comments, please.
Well, I have already put down my thoughts in the chat, but primarily, from an employee perspective, I think our company, Kantar South Asia in particular, what I would say is there was a lot of stuff which was done for the employees, and particularly in the HR teams, they decided to go, focusing on the employee and more critically the employee and his or her family. So there were lots of engaging kind of activities, whether it was dance or painting or yoga or gardening to health and wellness kind of initiatives. All of these things were done not only for the employee, but also their families. For example, one of them was tying up with a firm which was doing counseling and do this for not only the employee who may be going through stress, but also the family members who may have lost a near or dear one, and how can they actually come out of it. And this is done with a third party counseling company which is completely private and completely there's nothing linking back the employee or the employee's family back to the organization. So that's the kind of stuff which has been done during the pandemic times.
Great. So we had a pretty interesting session today where, marketing gurus, HR gurus and,
Moment here.
Yes, ma'am.
Sorry to interrupt you in between, because especially the last question about the post-pandemic marketing strategies, we heard of a lot of industries who are re-envisioning and re-strategizing, like Naveen ji said about their CEO interaction and the startup and to the major companies. So since I think I'm the only one here who belongs to, other than my faculty, to the educational industry, and there has been a tremendous change in strategizing the marketing of our educational courses in the last 1 year, as we have seen and as we talk, and especially in the mindset of I wouldn't only say my college because we are a smaller setup, but the way I've been speaking with vice chancellors of various universities and even bigger institutes in colleges and including ours, is that there has been a change in the mindset of the senior management, especially the chairman, who never had this vision, who always envisioned education as infrastructure, as only brick and mortar, that you have these four walls and so you can provide education. But there has been such a tremendous change after the pandemic. And now I think they all realize, in the senior managements, we all realize that it is not only about infrastructure anymore, it is about innovation and it is about digitalization. A session like this is an absolute normal thing happening since a year and a half now almost, because the institutes have recognized the need. So the way we market ourselves is through these kind of sessions. We market ourselves digitally. Last year it was very difficult, let me tell you, to convince the students that an online class is going to be as good as an offline class, and in fact sometimes better, because you will be able to interact with so many senior faculty across the world. We'll be able to put you through, but it was difficult to convince them, other than the strain it passes on to the eyes and all that thing that comes on, we read in the newspapers and other things. But it is so much more intriguing and interesting and exciting to interact with faculty all across the world. So it was difficult to convince the students till last year. But now they look forward to it. Our attendances have been soaring above 90%. There was a challenge of students who were not from urban backgrounds of internet connectivity and all, but now it's widespread and everybody is taking benefit of that. So the marketing strategies have totally, moved forward from building great rooms and classrooms and air conditioning to being digitally more, innovative. So
thank you so
I
much.
think there is a light behind the tunnel. Yeah.
Yes, absolutely, ma'am. Vanda ma'am, great, words of wisdom and, great insights into the educational side of the dynamics. Now, I would like Kriti ma'am to take.
I would like to thank the panelists for the knowledge, creation, ideation, coated with a beautiful mix of practical acumen, which was culminized by Nanda sir so beautifully. I would like to thank you all so much for your time. I would also like to tell you all, the panelists especially, that this powered session has enlightened more than 500 plus audience through the various sources of live streaming, out of which 280 students were the constituents. Thank you so much. And the reach has been humongous. Now I request the director of Lloyd Business School, Dr. Som, a very dynamic and energetic personality at Lloyd, to kindly address the vote of thanks. Dr. Som is a PhD in stochastic queuing systems from the Department of Statistics and Operational Research, Kurukshetra University, and possesses
this responsibility, because I don't know how I would say heartily I extend my thanks, but it would be too less. I cannot summarize the knowledge which the students and the participants gained through this particular discussion today in my own words, to be very honest. And given with this time of pandemic, the kind of participation we got, that is really tremendous. So I would like to start my formal vote of thanks with our Honorable President, Mr. Tharani, who has always been a motivating factor behind, moving ahead. And he always gives us a, he has a vision to, I would say that give freedom to the owners of the institution and the stakeholders of the institution to move ahead in the right direction and always do the things which are needed and actually the need of the hour. I would really thank Dr. Vanda Arora Sethi, who is always enthusiastic to give a little more to the students, a little more to the society. And under her guidance, we keep on organizing such events in all different areas of management. I would like to thank all the panelists, Mr. Kaul, Mr. Prashant, Mr. Balaji, Mr. Ravi, Mr. Jones, Mr. Naveen, and special thanks to our own faculty, Mr. Vivek Nanda, for moderating session in such a good way that students not only can get the knowledge, they can get the knowledge systematically. So my heartiest thanks to Dr. Vivek Nanda. I would really thank Dr. Kriti Gulati to, manage this entire event flawlessly with her own team, Ms. Neha, and, the beautiful anchoring as done by Dr. Neetu and all the faculty members. Actually, that's a collaborative effort which comes in picture led by one faculty, and definitely the students of Marketing Club. Like Dr. Kriti was apprising me yesterday that they have put tremendous efforts to make this event reach to every nook and corner of the country. So I'm really thankful to all the students of the Lloyd and the IT staff and, everybody who has contributed to this wonderful program. And to apprise you, we are coming up with a finance conclave by the end of the May. And in between the May, we are coming up with a faculty development program. So I am really thankful to everyone for such a wonderful event. And thank you very much. I hope to see you again, all of you, in another sessions, which will be, adding more value in different areas of management. Thank you very much. Thank you, everyone.
State that all the delegates, students, there is a feedback form which is there. The link is there in the chat box as well. Your feedback would always help us to come back better every time to you. And I would also like to thank the marketing club, specially headed by Dr. Kriti and Ms. Neha Isser, for their unrelentless hard work gone behind this entire summit and conclave. And I would like to thank the panelists, the students, and the delegates, and especially management, Dr. Vandana and Dr. Director Som, for having united the like minds on this framework today. Just to end the words, I'm reminded of Robert Frost's words: "The woods are lovely, dark and deep, but I have promises to make, and miles to go before I sleep, and miles to go before I sleep." Let's keep all these miles and promises alive, no matter what circumstances we are. Hopefully to meet everybody live next year, back in the marketing conclave. Stay safe, stay connected, stay happy and positive. Thank you, panelists. Thank you, everybody who's here.